Welcome to Objections with Stan Willis. I'm Michael Morris. With me, as only he can be, Stan Willis. Stan, how are ye?
Call me Nate.
If I say Nate, everyone will turn this off. The good news is it's only 3 people.
Call me Ishmael.
Listen, I have a question. As a person who probably has gone
Didn't
postal.
even get it.
Oh,
Went
I
right
got
over
it.
his head.
Nope. I walked past it. I didn't even turn my head, and I kept walking. I shan't listen to
I
that.
don't know, Nate. I think we should play it back and just see if he actually understood it. I don't think he did.
Before we started the show, we were talking about John Denver and Denver in general and getting high.
It's a creepy airport.
Do you remember Waco?
Yes.
Okay. Lovely place.
What's that got to do with John Denver? His name was David Koresh.
Well, they had the same haircut and same glasses. What I was curious about is Matt Gaetz has tried to advance a bill to get rid of the ATF.
Get rid of Waco.
No. Well, the ATF tried to bomb it out by themselves. They just took care of one house.
I know.
But as they're trying to get rid of the ATF and the IRS, I think everybody's getting excited, forgetting that politicians absolutely get nothing done. If you could pick which one, which would you eliminate first, the IRS or the ATF?
That's a tough choice.
Gun to your head.
Gun to my head, IRS.
It'd have to be, because the ATF will put the gun in your head in any minute.
Yeah. Well, the IRS has guns too.
So are we getting rid of the 87,000 agents, or is that just a rumor?
I don't think they've ever been hired.
So it's easy to let them go.
Well, I mean,
I want to see them on the first day of
Here's
school.
what I want to understand. So most businesses that I know of are struggling to find employees. Where the heck are they going to get 87,000 qualified IRS agents
Okay,
who
but
are also
you're
qualified to
You're
carry a
also
weapon?
forgetting every month 1 million people cross the border. So out of that,
true.
they could grab
That's true.
them.
Well, maybe they've hired them. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention.
Well, think how dumb most people that they don't have a job.
I saw an article the other day that the average they were comparing IQs to the average high school graduate in 1960. The average high school graduate in 1960 had a higher IQ than the average college graduate today.
Okay, but would you also
So
say...
that's proof that we're getting stupider.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
Because I was having a conversation with somebody.
So we're all boys and we're from Jupiter because we're stupider.
No, I'm not doing that. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I kept calling one of the Kardashian girls Kylie Jenner because I don't know I don't know which one is which.
Kyrie Jenner.
I know Kim, I know the mom, and
Is Kyrie even dating a Jenner? He's not dating any
well, no,
of them,
but
is
I
he?
don't know what her name is, and they said it's Kylie Jenner,
Okay.
and
Does she play basketball?
well, I'll give you the exact context of the quote. That girl's a whore is what I said. And she said, who? And I go, that Kylie Jenner. And then they say, so the person says, it's Kylie. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not. So I was wrong. And then I just said, okay, Kylie Jenner is a whore. Point being is that more people know
Why
about
would you say such a mean thing about her?
How did the Jenner Kardashian people make money? How do they get famous?
Well,
Their mom, Bruce Jenner, was a famous Olympic person, and then the dad was OJ's lawyer, a real estate lawyer, by the way. That's the first person he hired when he goes on trial. Yeah, man, I sell houses. Get your ass over to the jail cell because I need representation. So, I know Kim
did have that one great porno tape that she put out.
If you could get famous from doing that.
$30 million. She made $30 million.
But would you do that?
That's what I read. I don't know if it's true.
I don't know if you ever saw it.
Kim, if that's not true, can you let us know? Because I really don't want to be misquoting facts.
You ever see when a pit bull jumps on like a broomstick? That's what that looked like. That's not worth $30 million. Lovely singing voice. You're
not
getting
to
me off the topic. People are dumb and they're watching that show, and that was what the context of the thing.
So the context is people are dumb and they're watching the Kardashians.
Right. So, but people are watching that, and then they see someone say there's 87,000 agents coming, and they're only going to target the rich. Okay. So then you have the other side where they're saying 87,000.
There aren't 87,000 in the rich.
Right. So if you have 87,000 agents, don't you think it's got to be pretty hard to get those jobs?
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't you have to be smart to do those jobs?
Well, I mean, I imagine that there are qualifications that you have to have in order to be an IRS revenue officer is what they're called. They're not IRS agents; they're revenue officers. To be a revenue officer, and then the additional handgun piece. I think it'd be hard to find 87,000 people that are qualified to do that job, that want to do that job for the pay that they're going to offer.
Just so you're aware, there
aware.
are 10 jobs in media right now that all pay over $150,000.
Really?
And they can't get one person to interview for a $150,000 job in Columbus, Ohio.
Why didn't they call me? I'll interview.
Because you want to be on the morning show.
I don't.
I want to be talented.
No, I want $150,000 times 10. I will take all 10 jobs.
Wouldn't that be amazing? I'm only here an hour a day. I got to keep moving.
I'll take all 10 jobs.
If I'm
doing my math correctly, it's almost $1.5 million.
If you're doing it correctly, it's almost okay. That bothers me so much as a person that just says math all the time. I'm like, you son of a bitch. So the point in saying this is that if you get rid of the ATF, I don't think we're losing anything. But if you get rid of the IRS and do a use tax, which I think they're proposing,
well, that's what the bill that just went through. So the House introduced a bill last week or the week before that I think passed. It passed the House. That basically they say abolishes the IRS because people like to say abolish. That's not really what it does. But what it does is it does away with the income tax and imposes a use tax, which from a purely fairness standpoint would be the ultimate fair way to tax people, because what that would do, it would say, if you buy your clothes at JCPenney, then you're paying whatever the tax is at JCPenney. If you prefer to buy your clothes at Louis Vuitton, you're going to pay whatever the tax is on that. It would be more money because the percentage of a higher number.
But you have the money in your pocket already.
But you're not getting taxed on your income tax or on your income. So you make your full income. Right, so the average Joe out there in the 28% tax bracket is getting probably closer to 25% of their income back, and so now you have the choice on what you're going to spend it on, and based on what you spend it on, that's what you pay taxes on. So, if you go buy a 72 Vega or whatever that piece of crap is you drive, and
I'm sorry, a 2004 Mazda Tribute?
Yeah, what did you pay? $1.99 for that?
I paid $3,000 for that
see
9 years ago.
Have you been in his car? You can see the freaking road through his car for the floorboards.
I don't even charge extra. Do you know when you go on those boating tours and they have the glass bottom boat thing? That's what that's for, so you can experience the road while you're driving. By the way, Google glass bottom boat. You'll have a real fun treat.
Yeah, and thankfully McDonald's bags don't spontaneously combust.
No, they're stuck to the floorboard.
You drove your daughter to Minnesota in that car, didn't you?
So it was Milwaukee. Minnesota would have been another few hours, but we had to do it. Here's the funny thing. When I drove back...
Isn't that child endangerment?
When I parked the car, there were noises coming out of that because it's 16 hours round trip.
How do you keep it warm in there with the big holes in the floor?
I take one of those space heaters and I just put it in the back, leave it in there for half an hour, then I get in there when it's warmed up.
It's like, Nate, did you ever see the Red Green show? You gotta watch the Red Green show. So his car reminds me of when Red Green put an air conditioner in his car window, like literally a window air conditioner in his car window.
Don't think that I wouldn't do it.
Okay, back to you.
Yeah. And now here's Tom with the weather. So if you get the use tax, what I think is fair about the use tax, I don't know how you do it for roads. I don't know how you figure that out.
Well, the gas tax, right?
Oh, that's right.
So your gas, whoever uses more gas is obviously driving more, right? So
what's the negative in doing that? Because let's say
the negative in doing that is
getting rid of the current system to do the use tax.
Because then there aren't loopholes that people who are in corporations and other places want to take advantage of and pay politicians to.
So they don't want it.
Well,
corporations don't want it.
Well, I think that honestly, most big corporations would probably be in favor of it. But what you do away with, if you do away with the income tax and you go to a use tax, what will happen is wealthier people will bear more of the tax burden.
Right.
That's what will happen. It will happen naturally because it will happen based on what they're buying. Right.
Well, because when they're buying a $300,000 car and they're paying 30% on it,
right,
versus me buying a car that's $3,000 paying 30%,
right,
it's better to get their money because they're not going to give it up willingly.
Think of it this way: as of right now. So let's say that I'm Trump Enterprises, and I buy a $3 billion plane. That is a write-off to me. That is not. I'm not paying tax on that. So if I make $4 billion that year, I mean,
you're paying.
Right. Well, but you don't 175 this, so that has to be amortized and it becomes a capital expense and all this stuff. But essentially,
it's a
buying that plane is not a taxable event for me. It actually makes my taxes lower,
right,
not higher. So if I have a use tax and I go buy a $3 billion plane and there's a 10% use tax, so I'm paying $300 million in tax for buying the plane. And I'm doing it right then because it's immediate.
But that's what I don't understand is why would people, the rich are probably going to hate that. Because what happens to write-offs?
You don't have write-offs anymore.
No. So
why do you need a write-off if you don't have an income tax?
No, that makes total sense. Well, that's what I'm asking. So like if I took people to lunch, like right now, I don't have a lot of expenses in my business because, you know what I mean? We just chop it up in the back room and, you know. But that's not funny, Nate. Drugs are never funny. If I'm taking them to lunch specifically so I get a write-off. Right. Also to spend time with friends or whatever. But I need all those receipts because I've got to have some kind of write-off because I don't have machinery. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't buy new fax machines and computers and all that. Right. So if I was a business, I still think that's the better way to go because it sounds huge.
Well, if you're a business owner and you're taking people to lunch, you're not going to quit doing that because you can't write it off.
No,
and your write-off is only whatever your tax rate is. I mean, it's you still spend the money. So people don't understand how write-offs work. If I and especially in an entertainment situation. So if I take you to lunch and we spend $100 on lunch. My write-off on that, because it's an entertainment expense, is only 50%. Right. So I can write off $50. So what that means is that my income is reduced by $50. So if I'm taxed at a 33% rate, or 33% rate, then my savings
is like $13.
Is like $16. Right. 13 bucks. So I still spent $100. Right. And I get 16 back or 13 back in my taxes.
But I think we're conditioned to think of it like, I'm going to, Stan wants to go to the Buckeye game, and there's no tickets available. I'll just buy them and I'll write it off. Right. But I still had to spend the physical money for next year to get 50% of it. But by that point, I get, say, $20 back on a $100 investment. It's not worth even, just buy the ticket.
Right.
You know what I mean? And pay the tax on it.
And that's, but, you know, the difference is if I buy this table, and this table's $100, then I write $100 off of my income. Right. So it reduces it by $100 instead of $50. That's the big difference between entertainment. But if you usually with write-offs, like what do you write off? So you write off your house insurance, your mortgage insurance. That's a write-off because somebody in the federal government decided what we wanted to do is we want to encourage people to buy houses. So we're going to make housing something that has a write-off. You can do the same thing with your use taxes.
Right.
Right? So let's say that you say, okay, our taxes on our use taxes on food is maybe 2%, or like now it's nothing. Most food items aren't taxable. Most agriculture aren't taxable under the sales tax in most states. Maybe you do that, maybe you don't, but because you want to encourage people to buy food. But then if you want housing to be something you want to encourage people to do, you say, well, okay, the use tax on purchasing a house is 5%. The use tax on purchasing cars could be 10%.
So you could change the percentage. So it's not just the 30% use tax.
Well, you could do a flat rate. I think the one went through the federal government was a flat rate. But what I'm saying is, if you wanted to come back and encourage those kinds of investment, you could always do that by changing the tax rate.
So what's the negative? Why would the government not want to do that?
Not want to do a tax rate? I
think it's because
when you know who it was the first guy to really make this a big deal was Steve Forbes when he ran for president back in, I forget when it was. It's probably been 30 years ago or 40.
Well, it was against Clinton.
Was he against Clinton? Was he in the first one or the second one?
First one. So that might be 90 or 91 because I remember he wrote the book. He was on Sunday 95, Saturday Night Live, but I forget why he ended up I think he was told to drop out because they wanted to push Clinton through.
Well, I actually think that he lost in the primaries.
I know, but I'm saying it was strong. I think at that point, because we're in a system now where we know everything's broken. Back then we didn't.
Right.
So when someone, like when Ross Perot, oh my God, I'd vote for that guy, but you better not make any mistakes. And when he dropped out for like 4 days and said, you know what, I'm not going to do it. And then he said, I'm back in. People didn't buy into it. I think that when he brought up that tax rate thing, it was just too much of a shock because people don't realize you're paying 33%.
Right.
If you pay 30, you still have more money in your pocket, but you also are now making the decisions.
Right.
So if you're going to buy a new house for $900,000 and you're going to pay the taxes on it, going in.
Right. And if you remember back when he was doing it, the interesting thing is that he kept saying, if we go to a use tax, even at a lower rate, we will have more money.
Right.
We'll collect more money because
everybody's part of it.
And you can't escape it. You just have to pay the tax. You had people arguing that this would force black markets.
Doesn't matter. Black, Chinese, white, everybody's market.
We've got a huge drug trade already.
That's the one good thing about living in America. You can get dope anywhere.
It's not like that doesn't already, that those things don't. But I think mostly that the IRS can be used as a weapon for a lot of things. Yeah. And
they can garnish your wages.
Right. The other place that it becomes kind of because you have all these tax exempt organizations.
Like churches and all that
churches and charities and stuff like that. And I think that there's a certain segment of the population that's worried that if there's not some tax benefit or perceived tax benefit or something like that to giving money to these organizations, that people will stop. My argument for that is, products are products, right? So if you're a tax exempt organization that's doing work that is important to people, then people will support it.
Well, I think passion projects will still be passion projects. Right. Would you get a donation from, I saw a thing where the Celtics were giving a big check to like the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
I don't think those are going away, but the Celtics are doing that to get the tax benefit.
Oh, to get in for the marketing.
Yeah, but the people saying, hey, that's a great thing that they do that, right? I think that you could be right about that, but if churches were not exempt from paying taxes, how much money would flow? I mean, think of how many churches there are.
Right.
I'm not saying that they should, but I think we should at least say, can you contribute something?
Right.
Well,
and ultimately, if you're in a use tax world, then there's no. I wouldn't imagine there would be a tax on giving a gift to a charitable organization, but there's less incentive. There's a lot less incentive. This now becomes a moral This becomes a character decision. It's no longer
what a great time to count on somebody's morals
decision.
in this time we live in.
Right. So I think those are some of the downsides. I mean, I don't, except for the obvious, I think that the income tax can be manipulated by politicians, and it's less easy to understand. I mean, our tax system is incredibly. I'm an attorney. I don't do my own taxes.
I'm an attorney, and I don't do mine either. You think you're going to get me early in the show, and I'm not going to get you back? Go ahead.
I don't even want to say this, but it's just the first. It's one of those situations where the first thing that pops into my head, I'm like, nope, can't say that. Can't say that.
This
Can't
is
say
being
that.
recorded. This
Can't
will be
say
used
that.
in court.
Can't say that. All right, so I gotta. So last night I'm watching. So a friend of mine. No, I was watching Married at First Sight because.
What?
I was watching Married at First Sight.
No, I heard
because
it. What does that mean?
Because Pastor Calvin on the show and I are friends. I went to law school with him. He's a great guy. Anyway, so I just wanted to check it out, see what was going on, and there was this one guy, and he's on camera with his friends, right? And he knows he's being videotaped, right? And he's saying things, and I'm like, your wife is going to see this. Really? I just thought it was funny. He was just.
Well,
he
my
was just,
problem is what
he
is,
was just saying like she said. They said, so what are you going to do tonight? And most people were like very like, well, whatever she wants to do, I'm not going to push because, we're married, but we just met, so, And he's like, no, I'm going to tell her to get on her knees. I'm like, oh my gosh. You idiot.
Which is the right response.
You idiot. You just want to go. And I'm thinking to his poor friends, I'm thinking, seriously, somebody smack this guy and
He's
say,
going to have
you're
her
being
clean a floor?
exactly. On your wedding night. I don't understand it.
Here's what I understand. This is a television show?
It is, yeah. It's on
I thought you were
Lifetime.
talking about a movie, and I thought, what a great concept. This guy's blind, and we're going to give him sight, but he has to marry the first person he sees. I don't know these shows. What channel was this on?
It's on Lifetime.
Nope, not doing it. I'm not getting into
You should
this.
check it out. Just for Pastor.
It's called Married at First Sight.
Married at
Wait,
First Sight.
This is your friend is the guy that's on every episode?
He's one of the. They have three people who kind of analyze all the information they get from these people and hook the people up together. So he's one of the ones that does that. And then
they don't get to pick their partner.
After they've never even seen their partner until they come down the aisle. It's really kind of funny. And so he does the counseling for them afterwards.
Okay, hold up. Okay, you got me fucked
It's like an arranged marriage.
No.
It's just an arranged marriage you're paying for.
So I'm standing.
It happens in Puerto Rico all the time. I'm sure
that's
you're
different. That's completely different. My dad rode a bus for like 40 minutes with chickens and goats and stuff on it to get to meet my mom. This is a true story. And then I had to ride it back to the Air Force Base when that was over. And he's been miserable ever since. What I'm asking is, you've never seen the person. So say you're sitting there waiting on this woman to come down.
You're actually standing at the end of the aisle.
Okay, you're standing there. And some chick looking like Dick Butkus comes around the corner. You have to marry this person?
Well, I suppose you could probably bail, but, I don't think they're going to hold guns to your head forcing you.
How much money do you win to do that? I'm so disturbed that this is a show.
I don't think there's any money involved.
Why would you do this?
Because you're bad at dating.
I would never do this.
I mean, people get online and do the same dang thing. I mean,
yeah, but at least they can see the person.
Sort of, maybe. I mean, you're putting edited pictures in there. I know.
Of myself, yeah, but I'm just saying if somebody rolls around,
it's like when you show up at the restaurant, they're like, "Nah, I was expecting Nate. Who are you?"
If somebody rolled around at about 250 dimes.
I'm sorry. What were we talking about?
This is so much. I wish we would have covered it because now I'm pissed. I can't believe this is the real thing.
You gotta watch the show. It's called Married at First Sight.
God, I hate everything about this country. This makes me wish for a Pearl Harbor to happen in Hollywood. Is that where the show is in California? Of course it is.
No, it's in Atlanta.
Of course it is.
Well, they go around to different cities. They're home base in Atlanta, but they're in Nashville right now.
No. You upset me on the last show because you were talking about things that were really sad, and then you said
Isn't he
this.
getting a little bit more sensitive as we get older?
I don't understand. I don't understand this. I don't understand what people watch. I don't know why. Could you have Nate and I say stupid things when we're just here? Like, wouldn't this be funny to do? It's probably already a show.
It probably is. There's nothing worse than a reality show. I mean, there's a reality show that takes place in Sanibel, and it's like 6 people that live in a house that one of their dads owns.
And what do they do?
Mostly just get drunk and
nope. I'm ending the show here. I don't want to hear it. You've been listening to Reality Week with Stan Willis. Goodbye.